Hello, I'm Darth Paradigm. There's probably never been a Revan style saber that I haven't either wanted or bought. Uh, and such is the case with this hilt. Now, I did a survey today, and I asked you guys which of four sabers you wanted me to review, and this one kind of just edged out the Kyberlite V5 by a smidge. So this one is the one that you're going to get. I'm going to preface the video by saying one thing. I'm not really going to go over the electronics because this uses the Eco Smooth Swing soundboard. For that, I'm going to reference the review for my Crimson Dawn Antares, because that kind of really shows how the soundboard functions and kind of covers everything. So for brevity, I'm just going to cover the hilt, and I will turn the saber on and swing it around a bit just so you guys get kind of a feel for how it sounds. Anyway, so this hilt is 11 3/8 inches long, and the average diameter at the thickest part is about 1 3/8 inches. It's lightweight, large enough for two-handed wielding, and also light enough for single-handed wielding. Has all the standard cues that you would find on a Revan style saber. You have your little flange emitter, the little grilled section, whatever you want to call it. This is all just one big choke point, and this is actually a kind of a choke point in and of itself. This is very nicely done. There's your blade retention screw. That's the blade retention screw, and that's also a blade retention screw. And what really kind of sold this particular Revan saber to me was I like the cutaways on this choke section here. That's really nice. Now it gets really weird. This is where we're going to focus right now. It gets really weird on the switch section because there's a lot going on here, and I think that initially the design for this hilt might have been not necessarily for an LGT Saber Studio style chassis, but for something completely different. You have, all right, so you've got the screw here and the screw here. Now, obviously, there wasn't a screw port here. There was a hole that must have been intended for a switch. Okay, so they filled in this hole with a plate, and the screw goes through the plate into the chassis. And this little plate is kind of only held on by the fact that this screw is attached to the chassis, and by virtue of the fact that the chassis is so tightly packed in there that this doesn't really move that much. Now, I actually tried to tighten the screw, and that just caused the plate to kind of pop up a little bit. So I had to loosen it, and I could squish it back in. And it doesn't pop out. It doesn't move around. It's not really an issue in that regard. And I'm sorry if I've got the shaky camera thing going on. I don't know. But it is kind of, it's a little bit unsightly. And because of the way the screws sort of rest on the surface of the switch section, when you tighten it, or when the manufacturer tighten it, you can see that the fit for the actual switch itself is sort of ill-conceived. It doesn't really sit in there aesthetically, pleasingly, satisfyingly. I don't know, the OCD in us probably would, or rather the OCD types in this group probably would find this to be really unappealing. But other than the aesthetic, other than the aesthetic lacking, aesthetically lacking aestheticness, it's ugly. It works. I mean, the switches work, and they don't really hinder the use of the saber. And one of the things that does happen is, for some reason, they had this extra hole here, and the light from the actual chassis itself kind of glows through this hole, which is kind of cool. And they have one on the other side. I think this would normally be the screw that comes in the other side of the chassis and holds in. Anyway, it's a big cobbled mess, and that's the only thing that really kind of detracts, I think, from the Hilt. Well, that covers that. So anyway, so you also have your grip section, which before I wrapped it up, kind of stopped here, and then there was a groove, and then there was another groove, and then it stopped, and that's where the pommel inserts. And one of the things I had to do, because well, one thing leads to another. So you've got this cover tick wheel. How many LGT style sabers have a cover tick wheel? None. This is the first one that I know of this scale using this type of chassis. In order to get this to kind of line up a little bit with this little hole here and have some kind of symmetry, I had to use two timing shims in here to get that to fit. And because of the timing shims, the leather section doesn't really hit flush against the metal there. So that's why there's a little bit of a gap. No harm, no foul. Normally, and this is why I'm kind of filming this way, normally what I would do is I would unscrew this and show you the chassis, just because, you know, that's the kind of thing you do. However, this grip section is on here very tight. It's on so tight that when I was doing the timing shim fitting, you know, I had to figure out whether I wanted one or two timing shims. Taking the handle off and off, taking it off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, was starting to wear away on the surface of the plastic LGT Saber Studio chassis. So I kept having to siphon out plastic dust. So that gives you an idea how snug this is. The threading's not a problem. None of this comes loose, obviously, because it's so snug. So that's kind of, you know, a little bit of a concern, something to be aware of. Which is why I'm convinced that this hilt really wasn't designed for this particular system. It was just sort of repurposed. Now, as far as where this hilt originated from, no idea. It could have been something that some company had produced, they had extras of, so Aegis Sabers, maybe they purchased it, had it repurposed with the LGT Saber Studios chassis. I don't know what the story is, so perhaps if Aegis Sabers happens to see this video, they might feel inclined to kind of explaining, you know, the situation if they want to. It's up to them. I don't care, really. It's a nice saber. The pommel's extremely nice. It's a little bit sharp on the edges. I've gouged my forearms considerably with some of the more imaginative spinning sessions and whatnot. You can see these little holes in here. Those are sound vents, and those sound vents offset the fact that there's only one tiny little sound vent down here at the bottom. Yeah, you can't get really an angle where you can see the speaker, but it sounds good. And let's go from one end to the other. I bought the wrap from Defcon Bird. He's a seller on eBay. Also has a page on Facebook and a website and yada yada yada. It's pretty much the only guy I get my my wraps from. They're all natural leather, and generally the way the wraps work is you get them in a roll, and they're all pre-cut out so that you get the right angle, so that you can start wrapping them. I use when I'm doing a wrap, I use a little bit of Loctite glue on the tip, probably like the first inch and a half, and then I use a hot glue for the rest of it, and then at the end I use more Loctite glue to kind of secure that. As you can see, there's a little bit extra glue there. it's okay. It's kind of meant to be a distressed sort of wrap. And usually there's a little bit of leather left over, but not enough to actually use on anything else. So you can kind of have the freedom to have the wrap be as short or as long as you want. I knew exactly or approximately how much surface I had to work with, so when I put the wrap on it, I don't know, it's not a scientifically perfect process. As you can see, it's the diameter or the length between the gaps changes and whatnot, but who cares? All right. As I said, the hilt itself, or the electronics, the soundboard, I'm going to put the link to the other video where I really get into the nitty-gritty of this. I'm just going to turn this on to the setting that's set to, and the light color that's set to, and I'm just going to swing it around, and that's what you get. Okay? Revan's other hilt, his Sith saber, so this gets the red blade. You have a red backlit switch. That's sort of standard for the soundboard. There's the red seeping through, as I promised. See? No, it doesn't do it on this end. It used to do it, but then, well, things change. Nice precedence in the pommel here. I believe this is the Dooku Font. The Dooku Font sounds really good on this hilt, but it sounds amazing on the Outcast, which I'm going to review at some point next week. The smooth swing isn't the greatest on this font, but it's the only Sith font that's on this soundboard that really seems to fit. The Kylo Ren, it's just right off. I don't really like the Sidious sound font. It's a little bit too, it's a little bit too something. I'm not exactly sure what, but. Who wants to see me kill a chair? Let's kill a chair! Every video I kill a chair, someone has to mention that I'm a chair killer. You are a chair killer, you foolish chair killer, you. Now, because the switch is raised a bit, I am constantly kind of easily tapping it and setting off the blaster block. That's kind of inevitable. And this isn't a Profi board, so when that happens, it interrupts everything. Now, for the price I paid, which was just shy of 120, I think, shipping was free. If this was still available, I'd recommend everyone to pick one up. But, unfortunately, these things seem to go quickly. And Aegis Sabers doesn't have any more of them available on their website. So, for that I apologize, but I have nothing to do with that. It's just a thing that we have to deal with in the Saber community from time to time. I like Aegis Sabers because every saber that I've purchased from them is unique to that store. The Avenger, my Jaina Solo saber, is completely unique. I've never seen anyone else produce that. Revan sabers, of course, you know, they're kind of a dime a dozen. Everyone has their own Revan saber. Even LGT Saber Studios on their website on AliExpress, they have their own version of the Revan saber. Well, it's not this at all. It's a completely different design. So this is unique. It's unique even more so now that I've added this wrap. You know, it's personalized for me. And then the Outcast, when you see the Outcast, you're gonna be kicking yourself for not picking that Hilt up, because it's just amazing. So let's get in here. I'll give you one last look, and then we'll wrap this video up, and then everybody can go and use up the rest of your weekend doing whatever it is you see fit. Now there are nicks and dings kind of on the edges. Let's see if I can get on the surface of the circles that are cut out. In case you probably noticed that before, but so that's kind of a thing. Yeah, it kind of jumps the shark on the switch section, but it's functional, so it's a forgivable affair. And again, you know, what are you gonna do for the price? I really can't complain. Cannot complain one bit. Anyway, so yeah, that pretty much wraps up the review for the Raven. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this is called the Raven. Basically, a transposition of 2 letters to name a hilt. A lot of creativity went into the naming of this hilt. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll put the link to Aegis Sabers, and then I'll also put the link to the video that I mentioned where I go through all the functions of the soundboard and yada yada yada. I wish everyone a wonderful week. Let's strive for a nice, peaceful, non-violent, uneventful week. You think we can pull it off? Yeah. Well, let's try. Anyway, I love to everyone out there that supports my channel. May the Force be with you, and I'll talk to you later. I'll see you in the next video. Take care now. Bye.